Hey, what's up? Welcome to live.besttechy.net, the place where we talk tech and everything that's related to technology. And today, well, actually, a few days ago, I asked a question on Twitter. Now, if you're not following me on Twitter, you gotta do that. It's besttechy, twitter.com/besttechy. And I asked the question: if you had to choose between a Dell XPS 730 or a custom-built machine, as in PC, or a Mac Pro, which would you choose and why? So I thought this would be an interesting question to ask on Twitter, and I got a number of responses, which I'm going to go over. But the reason I asked this question was because I decided that I will be purchasing a Mac Pro sometime in the near future, and I will be using that as my main computer. I will be using OS 10 as my main operating system. It's a complete switch from the Windows Vista that I use today, which I do like, by the way. I do plan to install VMware Fusion. As I mentioned, that's one of my favorite applications in one of the previous videos, and I do plan to use XP or Vista with Fusion. Now, when I asked this question the other day, I knew I was going to get a bunch of responses, and I got a bunch. So I'm going to read a few off. I'm going to read a few of them, or maybe all of them. We'll see how much time I can do. But let's start with what the responses were. So Mandy, my girlfriend, actually responded. She goes, I would go with the Mac Pro. She goes, why? So I can have your old desktop. Alright? That's a good reason, right? So Carl responded, I would choose the Mac Pro because the Dell XPS has a high price range and it's mostly for gamers. In my own opinion, I would pick the Mac. Jurassic John said, if I had to choose, I would go with the Mac Pro. Gotta love the Mac OS. That's true. You have to love OS 10. Easy Way goes, this may be a bit late, but I'd like to get a Mac Pro because you already have a PC and a desktop, and a Mac would be nice. Prozac 420 says Mac Pro because I've been jonesing for a Mac for years. Chris the Mac guy says, I don't know if he's a little bit biased, but he goes, choose the Mac Pro. OS 10 is far superior. It's a far superior operating system to XP or Vista. You'll pay more for the Mac Pro, but it's worth it. David Ford says, are you serious? I guess he wasn't really paying attention when I asked the question. I know David wants to get a Mac Pro, so I think that's what he would choose. Cripple, aka Gimpy, says, personally, I'd love a custom-built Hackintosh. Best of both worlds. Alright, so he wants to build his own Mac. Jeffrey RR says, depends on your budget. Would either be a custom or a Mac Pro. Custom is cheap, better than XPS or Mac Pro because it can do Mac, or a Mac Pro because the Mac Pro can do Mac and Windows. Justin, or JF Cap, or Justin Capasso, says, custom built, Dell and Mac equal no good. Another Justin says, Mac Pro. Definitely, Dell probably has Vista. Custom PCs, like my desktop, can have stupid quirks, and I want to try OS 10. Okay. Pagan says, Mac Pro, simply because it ain't no Windows machine. Das Familiar says, Mac Pro, because not only can you run OS 10, you can run Windows under Boot Camp and still get full access to a video card. And Bayless says, Mac Pro, PCs aren't as good as they used to be. So we got a bunch of responses, or I got a bunch of responses, all of which, I don't agree with all of them, but I appreciate the response, and I think some of them are, pretty valid in the sense that, OS 10 is a very nice operating system. In some ways, it is superior to Vista. In other ways, or XP. I mean, it's like apples and oranges. They're both good for certain things depending on what you want. Now, I'm not going to turn this video into an Apple versus or OS 10 versus Windows type of thing, but I thank everyone for the responses that they gave me, and I decided before I even posted that I was going to get a Mac Pro. I just wanted to see what people had to say about that. So I think it's interesting to point out that people are really starting to consider moving to OS 10. They're seriously starting to consider buying Macs or Apple machines because maybe they're fed up with Microsoft Windows, or maybe they're fed up with the PC OEM industry. Maybe they don't like the way Dell is doing business, or maybe they don't like the way HP is doing business. You know, there's a number of different factors. Now, you have to remember, you cannot put the blame with Microsoft that you're blaming the PC OEM industry. Microsoft has a very tough job cut out for themselves. They have to make sure Windows works on a number of different platforms. By platforms, I mean different vendors. They have to make sure it works on Dell machine, Dell different hardware, proprietary, all these different types of hardware that's on the market today. You have to factor that into the equation. If you don't, it's a huge flaw in your argument. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Apple has strict control over what hardware they use on their machines. You know, what drivers, all that stuff that comes together. Microsoft has a much harder job. So if you're gonna blame someone for the issues with Vista, or hardware or whatnot, blame the manufacturers. Microsoft, their job is not to write drivers. Their job is not to write drivers for this hardware, and that's my personal opinion. And I think it's fact. I mean, I don't think you can hold Microsoft fully accountable for that kind of thing. Nonetheless, I am switching to OS 10, and I am buying a Mac Pro in the near future. So I want to know what you guys think. Sure, we got a bunch of responses here on Twitter, but I want to know what you guys think. Are you seriously considering making the switch to OS 10 or buying a Mac anytime soon? I want to know. Leave some comments. I'm gonna have a blog post up. By the way, I'm gonna post all these Twitter responses again in the show notes. There we go, show notes. And I was thinking, I have another video coming up where I'm gonna spec out a Mac Pro. So keep an eye out for that. We're gonna spec out a Mac Pro and find out how much it costs compared to, let's say, a Dell machine or something like that, and see what you get, and we'll pick out the different parts. So stay tuned for that. This has been live.besttakeinternet, the place where we talk tech. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.